Yeah, Chris Salvador. Just read the news. I know celebrity gossip isn't really important, but this concerns wrestling, and I was at one time before Chris Benoit was killed, or murdered, should I say, or killed himself, suicide. Terrible, but great man wrestling, except for the end. But since this concerns wrestling, and obviously a pretty big, important part of why wrestling got even became as popular as it was, it's Hulk Hogan. And like many of you, I'm sure you've seen Hogan Knows Best, and you know, many of you care, many of you don't. Whatever. Just found out that he may or may not be getting a divorce. It seems pretty official, the divorce papers, and thought I'd weigh in kind of. I know it's like, well, it's not my place to say anything, but I figure, I mean, since I obviously can't talk about wrestling, might as well talk about the family problems. Divorce, I really don't know. I don't know. I really can't imagine that people like that could get divorced. If you look at, I mean, I know they say not all that glitters is gold, but I mean, these people are just drenched in gold. I just can't imagine. I don't know what would be the grounds for divorce with Hulk Hogan if they're not, infidelity. If he's not cheating on her, I mean, there really is none. It's kind of like, okay, he's a great dad. He actually cares about his kids. He isn't wrestling anymore. He's rich. I mean, you know what I'm saying? Like I can't. I wonder how that goes. It's like I don't want to be with him anymore. We've grown so distant. It's like I really can't. I mean, like it sounds funny, and I'm not trying to say that she's not entitled to her feelings, but from an outside perspective, it's like it's kind of like the greatest catch kind of. It's like it's weird. It's like because you wonder like if that can't even keep it together, then there's no hope. Because usually everybody, when in the world of fame and fortune and all that stuff, you always wonder like where does it go wrong for people who go down that path and they end up in career suicide, kind of like as you see now with Britney Spears and all this drugs and stuff. And you always say, well, the parents, and the fact that there's no kind of strong role model kind of there, and you look at Hulk Hogan and you think, I mean, say what you want about him, he's a really great dad, and I think that maybe Brooke and Nick, depending on how, I mean, it's really how they are is really how they're raised. I mean, they have really good values instilled upon them that it's like, you don't see Brooke Hogan kind of going off doing cocaine and getting drunk and doing all this stuff, and you hope that this is not a cause of that. You hope that this kind of family breakup doesn't cause that stuff, because when you're that rich, I mean, you have access to things that other people don't have access to, and obviously she has access to, I'm sure, drugs and parties and things like that. Like even if she can't pay for them, she can get into clubs where people will have drugs. And of course, I mean, a drug dealer, what are they going to do? They're going to give it to her free because it's Brooke Hogan. If I could get her hooked, that's still good. So it's definitely a thing where it's like, you can't really control someone like that, but she has that father who's like a rock, and he's kind of keeping his, hold on her. And that's something that you say what you want, but the other kind of girls in, the Paris Hiltons and the Britney Spears and the Lindsay Lohans, their parents, it's like their parents aren't as, you don't see their fathers kind of coming out and being, very speaking up, like kind of like, I'm your father and you're going to do this, period, and meaning it. And it's very weird that, like, it's very weird to kind of see that this family has broken up, and I can't really understand why. Like, even watching Hogan Knows Best, I remember they had that episode where she was talking about getting divorced, and you're sitting there you're kind of wondering, like, why? Like you kind of sit there going, unless, like I said, there's infidelity or something that they're not showing us. I mean, there really is no kind of reason to kind of break up with. I mean, it's like he's still sexually attracted and still sexually active with his wife. He obviously has money, and even if they are having financial problems, he could obviously get out of it because WWE still sells a lot of his stuff. So it's like they might not be as, I mean, obviously they can't frivolously spend, like, buy a helicopter or something, but they do, I mean, obviously they have more money than what most people are making, and they could pretty much survive together as a unit. And you kind of, I mean, he used to live in Miami. I think they moved now. And my friend used to see him down in South Beach working at a shop. He would come in. He was a really cool guy. I mean, he said really good things about him. He would come into the store and he'd buy, would buy extra, and definitely like it wasn't like flashy spending. It was kind of like it wasn't just like buy for buy's sake. It was kind of like any, it was weird. Like I guess it was also to get. He was doing it kind of for my friend to get a commission on the sale or something. So it was kind of money for him as well. So it was really cool. I always thought that was really cool. And I don't know. It seems. I mean, if I have to if I have to get into Linda's mind and why she's breaking up with him, I think it's why, what's that complex that they call when everything is perfect? That's the problem, that life is too perfect, and it's like there's no problems, and you're looking for one, and the problem is that there is no problem. It's kind of like that movie Everyone Says I Love You, where Julia Roberts breaks up with Woody Allen because it's like everything is perfect, and it's like I have to leave, and you're like, okay, that doesn't make any sense. But I think a lot of it is like, well, if you kind of look at their marriage, I mean, now they're in the position where, I mean, before Hulk Hogan he was Hulk Hogan. I mean, he was rich, he was famous, and he was constantly on the road. Because, I mean, I'm very interested in wrestling life, and a lot of those wrestlers are never, you're on the road a lot. And if you look at Mankind's, Mick Foley's, you get hurt, and you might go out and perform and be killed, and there's always that fear of you'll get hurt, or are you cheating on me out there in the hotel rooms? Are you doing steroids? Are you, I'm home with the kids, and I think that was, I'm sure, a problem that they went through in their 30-plus year marriage. That you look at it, and now you're like, well, there is not that problem anymore because Hulk Hogan is retired, so he's not on the road anymore. He's always home, and it's like, is that what the problem is? Is that maybe he has to find time away from his wife or something, or is he spending too much time smothering her? Is she, it's just weird that you because you look at you kind of like the Osbournes, you kind of look at like the family and you think, oh, that's like, they're like a normal family. They just haven't had money, but they're kind of normal in that sense, and you go, oh, that's kind of a good model to kind of take to, not your life, but to kind of go, okay, that's a really good example of, not everybody who gets rich and famous goes into drugs and has, you have problems, but you don't have to, you can, if you have strong kind of basis, a platform, a kind of rock there to stand on, you'll be okay, and you'll get through the problems of fame and fortune and all the things, and not go into drugs and despair and death and, the kind of John Belushi kind of nightmares. And I think, I really hope that, I mean, I just can't imagine someone just breaking up just because of, I mean, unless it's infidelity, I mean, there's really kind of no reason to do this, so it's very strange, and I mean, I'm sure maybe it's probably PR, maybe it's all bullshit, maybe it's just to get people watching the next season, maybe they do this every, it's a joke between them, but I really hope that it doesn't, I hope they don't break up, because I really would not like to see the Hogans kind of go off, and you start hearing how, Brooke gets into drugs, or Nick gets into this, and it just seems kind of ridiculous, so that's my 2 cents on it.